Okay, good day everyone. Welcome to everyone. Welcome to the postgraduates in higher education talk show. Today our topic is on the use of the indigenous languages in higher education, specifically in South Africa, our country. So I have my host with me, Mr. Mufuka. I think I did also forget to mention my name, Mr. Rampisi. Both Mr. Mufuka and I are lecturers at a TVET college. In our audience, we'd also like to recognize that we have our colleagues whom are our lecturers and also our students. So I think we have both the lecturers and the students because we want both views as to what would be the view of actually using the indigenous languages in higher education. Mr. Fufuka, what is your take on that?
Oh yes, ma'am, thank you very much. I believe that for our audience, we are going to give them the opportunity actually to engage on this matter. So I have a leading question for you guys, of which you will have to tell us how will you think students will benefit and what will be the challenges for using indigenous language as a medium instruction for teaching and learning. According to me, my view specifically, I will say is gonna come with some challenges. This kind of concept that we are actually discussing today is that when we are actually referring to using our mother tongue, it means it has to start with the lecturers first. Are we having equipped lecturers to actually be able, if they are at a certain college that whereby the majority are people who are speaking a particular kind of language or a specific language, are they equipped to be able to actually facilitate or even teach using the language that the students will actually understand better? I want to find out how is your intake on this one?
Somebody from the audience?
Using the language as a medium instruction for teaching.
Using indigenous languages as medium of instruction, the benefits are cultural. The benefits are that students are going to be able to learn in their mother tongue and get a greater grasp of being African and South African in general. They'll be able to go back to culture, go back to many things that have to do with South African culture. But the problem would be scientific discourse. For instance, I'm an ICT student. Yes. There's a lot of scientific discourse. So how are we going to be able to translate scientific discourse into mother tongue? How are they going to be able to communicate that with me in mother tongue? How are they going to be able to teach me coding in a language that is indigenous? Right? It's going to be a big problem, even though the benefits are there. But it's going to be a great disadvantage because it's code switching problems, as I stated, societal discourse as well, class disruptions, because in one class we have 10 languages, right? Probably
Yes.
have 3, 4, 5 languages, and there has to be the division that there has to be a Sotho class, a Pedi class, a Tswana class. That it will eat from the quality of the education whatsoever. So that's my view.
Okay, the other problem I can say, the problem of the language itself. We have different kind of Zulu languages. Which Zulu language are we going to use in class?
So in one Zulu, isn't, but they are different.
We have Setswana. We have Setswana that is being spoken in Northwest. We have Setswana that is spoken in Kimberley. We have Setswana that is spoken in Bloemfontein. It is Setswana, but it is different. So which one are we going to choose? So that is going to be a problem because others are going to feel that they are inferior or more important than others. You understand? And so that is also the challenge that we're going to face.
Yes, and I agree with you, because in one language you might find one word doesn't mean the same. You understand? Maybe in Sotho, when we say we are tired, it doesn't actually mean, when I say that word, it doesn't mean tired to this particular type of, so to speak, in person again. Hence, I understand your point to say within maybe a particular type of language, there will be actually differences there. Although we are speaking one language, but when I mean this, I don't actually mean it the way you're supposed to understand it. It will be something that's vice versa.
Okay, I think just to get to the point that Mem said, she spoke of which Sesotho are we going to use.
Mhm.
When it is said that South African languages, there's 11 official languages. If we say Southern Sotho is one of them,
Mhm.
which Southern Sotho are we talking about? It doesn't say fall under Southern Sotho or whatever. But then if it says Southern Sotho, then we need to look at Southern Sotho on its own. Also, I think it will be some form of a job creation also, so that we as Africans actually even take these African or indigenous language into higher education. So if I specialize in isiXhosa, then that's where my profession is going to go into. Then at least then most of us African people, then we can have an interest in our own languages and take those into higher education and also as a professional method. Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I think another aspect that we can look at is before maybe this is going to be implemented, you would look at a province, and then maybe let's say we use a province like in the Free State, you would find that the dominant language would be Sesotho, and then you move to KZN, maybe the dominant language would be isiZulu. I think maybe if we maybe try to look at it from that aspect, then we can say if we check each region, which dominant language it can accommodate a lot of people. So I think it would help a lot, but it could have a lot of challenges when it comes to metropolitan cities like Ekurhuleni, or let me say a cosmopolitan province like Gauteng, where you have almost 11 languages. Or maybe we could also look at that in terms of like per metropole, which is the most dominant language. So in that sense, I can say it could create, like Memram PC said already, it could help out in terms of like who would have a specific dominance in what language, and then they can teach in that sense. So I think in that way, if we look at it in that way,
Yes.
it could give us direction.
Okay. Yes.
In my view, I think the use of indigenous language will help in other areas. For example, in assessing students or learners, you could set a paper with both languages so that the student reads in English and then compares with his mother tongue and be able to understand basically how to answer or respond to the question. But coming to facilitation, I think they are going to experience a lot of challenges whereby in one class, as the latter speakers said, you'll have different languages in one class, and then you need to have 5 facilitators to cater for one class. In that case, it will be a problem. So those are pros and cons in using those indigenous. But indigenous language has its benefits in terms of students will better understand and be able to get on in other programs.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir.
I think for my side, in as much as we say it has a lot of challenges, but I also believe we won't be able to weigh as to what needs to be done and where it needs to be done up until such thing is implemented.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, English was long implemented and it's instilled into young people at an early age. So with that being said, if an education system whereby we use our indigenous language, it's instilled into young people from a foundation phase, it will carry on up with them up until the higher education level. So in as much as it will have its challenges, but we won't know those challenges up until we have willingness to implement. So that it boils back to that political linkness, because everything that has to be done, it starts in a political level and policymakers and so forth. And it has a whole lot of benefit with regards to our very own South African lecturers, African people.
Yes. Indeed, it's a broad concept. But once again, like I wanted to emphasize something that Umen talked about. When we will say maybe in Free State, a dominant language is Sotho. The Sotho I will speak. For somebody to tell from which section I come from, although we speak one Sotho, there is different. The one, for example, the one that Sotho that I'm speaking, when I'm in Free State, they will say, you understand? Meaning from, Lesotho. But they are still speaking Sotho, but not the deep Sotho like the one I'm speaking, you understand? So imagine now, whereby we are in class, whereby now, still in Free State, but I have to teach students, all students coming from different sections of Free State using that language, Sotho. There are those students who will be confused, because Sotho that I'm speaking is too deep for them. Hence they will say the other language from rural is deep, the ones from, cosmetic cities, delight. Hence, around here they will say they speak light Zulu. And you see. So I think it's one of the things that will come as the challenge, one of the major challenge towards this particular concept. I don't know. What do you think, ma'am?
Okay, the other issue I wanted to talk about, the language policy in each and every higher education institution.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, other higher education institutions, they have those language policies, but the problem is the implementation plan. That is the other problem. So we still have a long way to go.
Yes.
And as parents, we're still taking our children to, what do you call the schools?
Model C
The Model C schools.
Yes.
We believe that if a child is speaking English, the child is educated, which means we don't believe that our own languages are important. As Ngugiwa Tiongo, when he was saying in his book, he said, as Africans, we are looking down on our own languages. You understand? We have to own our languages. We have to bring them into the curriculum as well. Also the issue of the decolonization of the curriculum.
Yeah.
That is when it comes to. If we can start with the implementing of the language policy in higher education, then that's when we'll be able to decolonize our curriculum.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
To add on what Mem was saying, in all essence, this will bring the sense of identity that we have
Exactly.
lost into us as Africanism.
Yes.
So the sooner we tap into such levels, the better we become the true Africans that we deem ourselves to be.
Yes.
But another view, if you look at it politically, that brings you back to a classification now in terms of media of instruction,
Yes.
whereby now that particular institution has to declare its policy, which language are they using as a media of instruction. And now it will clash, whereby there will be discrimination. Certain in a group of people that are using this language won't be able to be accommodated because of the language that they're using. So there and there you're going to experience such challenges.
Okay. I think also to add, not only should we look at facilitation or even teaching in these indigenous languages, but we also need to think as postgraduate students, right? We are more into writing articles. How many articles are actually written in these indigenous languages? If I have to take, or if I want to take isiXhosa into my higher education as a profession, then I would have to think of my research. Where would I be citing for articles? Because I know mostly for African languages, your Xhosa, your Zulu, your Sotho, most of articles written in those languages would be articles that are in philosophy, right? Your Bible studies, all of those. But not necessarily, I know for hospitality, I won't actually find articles written in isiXhosa. Do you understand? And for somebody who is overseas to actually understand even reading my article, there won't be even a chance. So if you are in researching in for nursing, right? Then how many articles are actually going to be written in isiXhosa, isiZulu, Chivenda, all of those languages? So we should also look into that as postgraduate students in higher education.
Exactly, ma'am. Even the issue of funding. The moment you say I want to study isiXhosa, who's going to fund you?
True.
No one, you understand? So that is the problem as well.
Yes, I actually think I agree with that, Mr. Mufuka, because for your scholarships, they are looking into what do you want to study? How is it going to benefit us, especially even internationally?
Yes.
But on another hand, if you look at in terms of articles that have been written in terms of this indigenous language, people will embrace their own. And as a result, they will support and want to invest so that it is carried from one generation to the other generation. So I think this use of indigenous languages will help a lot in terms of bringing up the ownership in terms of our languages.
Okay. So meaning that, ma'am, if I'm hearing our audience very well, we are saying that the policy should be actually designed, especially for the higher institutions to implement the policies. And then after that, what can be phase 2 will be now the platforms. Hence, we are talking about publishing. When most papers that are being written are not published within the country. So they are outside publishers. So meaning the platforms must be set so that when we know that you want to publish, because yes, we have people who are writing books, they are writing stories but actually it's rare to find. Actually, it is even difficult for you sometimes to try to publish whatever story book that you wrote using your own language. So it's one of those challenges that we have to look into.
I think the bottom line would be, as a country, we need to own it and believe in it. If we want to use these African languages, we need to own it. We need to embrace our own. So if someone actually wants to write a book, especially for higher education module, then we should, an institution needs to actually support it. And also because from the earliest ages, we get excited when our 8-year-olds are writing books in isiZulu. When those things should be just a norm. It should be normal for our kids to write in those languages. But nowadays we get excited if an 8-year-old, we hear on the news, they published a book written in isiZulu or isiXhosa, meaning we are not owning it. But then because we are, I wouldn't say we are getting there, we need to start somewhere.
Yes.
We need to start somewhere. So, yes, sir.
Yes.
Lastly, for me, it will be a question of continuity, because from foundation phase, there is home language there.
Yes.
Secondary level, there is home language.
Yes.
But when you tap into the higher education, home language is no longer there. So for me, it will be a question of continuity. Once you implement the indigenous language into higher education, then your kids, your students at that time will be in the right track.
Yes, and colleagues, if we may look into, sometimes these things are funny, because I was looking, Bible is written in each, any language that, not even all over the world, you get the Bible written. So what will make us fail to actually have things being written by using our own? So I believe that it's something that is doable.
It will also address the policy contradictions, because constitutionally everyone has the right to receive education in the language of their choice. So if African people would decide to go learn in the indigenous languages, that policy has to be practiced at the end of the day, so that our constitution stops being a book with unpracticed pledges. I think that's also very important.
True.
Okay, it was really interesting topic, and we really enjoyed having you as our audiences. So we believe that as time goes on, we will actually continue. But like Umem said, we believe that we have to actually push to see where can we actually start, especially when it comes to this implementation of this. So until next time, ma'am.
To our audience, we'd like to thank you for joining us in our conversation, and till next time.
Bye-bye.